The outer belt was silent except for the groan of broken metal drifting in endless space. It was a graveyard of ships. Massive war cruisers split in half, freighters gutted by time, and drones rusting into nothing. Generations of battles had left their bones behind, and now scavengers picked at them like vultures. Darius Kane was one of those scavengers. His ship, Rust Seeker, was small and ugly, a patched-together freighter with more dents than smooth panels. But it was his, and in the outer belt, that meant survival. He wasn't rich, wasn't famous, wasn't powerful. He was just another man who kept himself alive by finding what others had thrown away. Another day, another pile of junk, Darius muttered to himself, adjusting the controls. His voice filled the empty cabin since nobody else was there to hear him. He scanned the field of debris on the radar. Old destroyers, drones, cargo haulers, all stripped bare long ago. Most scavengers would have moved on, but Darius had a habit of checking the places others ignored. Sometimes luck favored him. He put on his helmet, locked the docking clamp, and floated out into the void. His boots clicked onto the side of a shattered frigate. The hull was torn apart like paper, exposing wires, frozen blood, and shattered bulkheads. "Looks like this one went down fighting," he whispered. He worked carefully, slicing open panels, digging for usable wires, energy cells, anything that could sell. He filled his crate with scraps until it was almost too heavy to drag. But then something caught his eye. Deep inside the wreck, behind broken metal beams, was a shape. At first he thought it was another ruined drone, but as his helmet light swept over it, he froze. It wasn't a drone. It wasn't cargo, it was a person. No, not a person. It was a humanoid machine. She lay half buried under a collapsed bulkhead, one arm twisted, her chest plate dented, her body scorched with old burns. But even through the damage, Darius could see the design was unlike anything he'd scavenged before. Sleek, elegant, almost human. Her face was smooth, carved in perfect symmetry, with closed eyes that made her look like she was only sleeping. Darius swallowed hard. "Well, what are you?" He crouched, brushing dust from her frame. She wasn't like the crude labor bots sold on colony markets. She was advanced. Too advanced. Maybe military, maybe experimental. He noticed the faintest flicker of light under her chest panel, like a heartbeat refusing to die. Still alive. "After all these years?" Darius whispered. He looked around nervously. If other scavengers found her, they'd rip her apart and sell her piece by piece. To them, she was nothing more than valuable scrap. But Darius didn't see scrap, he saw mystery. His mind battled itself. This could make you rich, Darius. Just drag her to the syndicate buyers and retire. But another voice whispered inside him. Or you could fix her. See what she is. See who she is. Against all logic, Darius made his choice. He connected a cable from his suit to the collapsed beam and used his cutter torch. It took him almost an hour, sweating inside his helmet, but he freed her. Her body floated weightlessly until he pulled her onto his sled. "Don't know why I'm doing this," he muttered, though his hands worked fast, strapping her down carefully. "But I guess you're coming with me." Back aboard the Rust Seeker, Darius laid her on the workshop table. The ship smelled like oil and metal dust, filled with shelves of old parts, half-repaired engines, and tools scattered everywhere. It wasn't much, but it was home. He studied her again under brighter lights. Her plating was scratched but made of alloy he couldn't identify. Her joints looked worn, but the craftsmanship was too fine to be ordinary. And her face. That was the strangest part. It wasn't blank like most androids. It was expressive, human-like, almost soft. He reached out, brushing dust from her cheek. For a second he felt foolish, as if he were touching someone sleeping. "Let's see if I can wake you up," he murmured. Hours passed as he tinkered. He replaced burned wires, recharged her power cell, and repaired broken circuits with parts scavenged from drones. Several times he nearly gave up. The tech was old, alien even. But something pushed him forward. Curiosity, determination, maybe even loneliness. Finally, he connected the last wire. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, faintly, her chest plate glowed. A pulse of light ran through her body. Her fingers twitched. Her head shifted slightly. Darius's heart pounded. "Come on, wake up." Her eyes opened. They glowed faint blue, scanning the room, then settling on him. For a long moment, she just stared, silent and still. Darius stepped back, hands half raised. Easy, I'm not here to hurt you. Her lips parted. A voice came out, soft but mechanical. System. Rebooting. Memory. Fragmented. Her eyes blinked rapidly, adjusting focus. She looked down at her hands, flexed her fingers, then looked back at Darius. Who are you? My name's Darius Kane. Scavenger. Found you in the wreck. He tried to smile, though his voice was shaky. Didn't think you'd actually wake up. She tilted her head, almost like a curious child. Designation. Unknown. Mission. Lost. I don't know who I am. Darius frowned. Her voice wasn't cold like most machines. It had hesitation, almost emotion. Well, he said slowly, until you remember. Maybe we'll just call you Lyra. She repeated it softly. Lyra. Her glowing eyes seemed to warm. I like that. For the next few hours, Darius asked questions, but her answers were broken. She remembered fragments of battlefields. Orders shouted through comms, flashes of explosions, but nothing complete. Her purpose, her mission, gone. She seemed confused, even lost. Darius offered her water out of habit before realizing she didn't need it. She only stared at the glass, then gave him the faintest smile. Why did you repair me? She asked suddenly. Darius hesitated. He thought about the syndicate, about the fortune she could have brought him. But he shook his head. Because everyone deserves a second chance. Even machines, I guess. Lyra studied him for a long time, as if trying to understand. Her expression softened. Thank you. It was strange hearing gratitude in her voice. Strange and unsettling. But in that small workshop surrounded by junk and silence, Darius realized something. For the first time in years, he wasn't alone. The Rust Seeker drifted quietly through the outer belt. Its engines hummed like tired lungs, carrying the scavenger ship from one graveyard of wrecks to another. But inside the ship, things were no longer the same. For the first time in years, Darius Kane wasn't alone. Lyra sat on the workshop bench, her glowing blue eyes following every small detail of the cramped room. The shelves stacked with broken parts, the half-fixed engines lying in pieces, the faint vibration of the ship's hull, all of it seemed new to her. She touched objects as if studying them, like a child discovering the world for the first time. Darius leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching her carefully. He wasn't sure if keeping her alive was smart. Any syndicate patrol would gladly pay fortunes for technology like her. He should have powered her down, hidden her away. But something in him refused, so Darius finally said, You don't remember much. Lyra shook her head slowly. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. Fragments, noise, flashes of battles. Commands that no longer matter. Everything else is broken. She looked down at her hands, flexing them slowly. I was built for war. That much I know. Darius frowned. Human war tech, then. Figures. Always leaving nightmares behind. She tilted her head, studying him. And you? Why are you here among the bones of ships? Because that's all I've got, Darius replied simply. Scrap metal keeps me alive. Doesn't make me rich, but it keeps food on the table. He gave her a half smile. Not much of a story, is it? Lyra's eyes softened. It is more of a story than I have. I'm nothing but rust and fragments. Something in the way she said it made Darius's chest tighten. She wasn't just a machine repeating lines. She sounded lonely. Over the next few days, Lyra adapted to life aboard the Rust Seeker. She walked slowly at first, her joints stiff after centuries of silence. Darius replaced more of her broken parts, tightening plates, connecting circuits. Each repair seemed to give her more strength, more movement, more humanity. She was curious about everything. What does this do? She asked, pointing to a half-built engine. That's a pulse coil. Without it, the ship doesn't fly, Darius explained. And this? She held up a greasy spanner. That's my best friend, Darius said with a grin. Without it, nothing works. Lyra didn't laugh, but she tilted her head in thought. So, you and the tool are the same. Both keep things alive, Darius chuckled. Never thought of it that way. He found himself talking more than he ever had before. Stories about his childhood on a mining colony. About the first time he fixed a ship engine. About the lonely years scavenging wrecks. Lyra listened quietly, never interrupting. Her glowing eyes fixed on him like his words mattered. And sometimes she asked questions that cut deeper than he expected. Why do you live here alone? Do you not want more? Darius paused, setting down his wrench. Wanting more cost credits I don't have. Out here, survival is enough. Lyra's expression was unreadable, but her voice was soft. Survival is not the same as living. On the 5th day, danger came. Darius had taken the ship closer to a wrecked carrier, hoping to find something valuable. While he cut into a sealed compartment, Lyra monitored the scanners. Her eyes suddenly narrowed. "Darius," she said sharply. "Ships, 3 of them. Approaching fast." Darius cursed and ran to the cockpit. On the radar, 3 red blips closed in. He recognized their signature immediately. "Syndicate raiders, damn it," he muttered. "They must have caught my beacon while I was cutting." Lyra stood behind him. "Who are they?" "Scum," Darius spat. "Slavers, raiders. They take what they want. If they know you're here, we're both dead." Her glowing eyes darkened. "Then they must not know." The raiders hailed them. A rough alien voice crackled through the comms. "Scavenger vessel Rust Seeker, power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist and you will be destroyed." Darius gripped the controls, sweat on his forehead. His ship was too slow to outrun them. He muttered under his breath, "Always knew this junk heap would get me killed." But before he could answer, Lyra stepped forward. Her body straightened, her expression hardening. It was like a switch had flipped inside her. "Open the hatch," she said firmly. Darius blinked. "Are you insane? They'll rip us apart." Her voice carried no hesitation. "Trust me." Against all reason, Darius opened the hatch. The raiders docked, stomping aboard in heavy boots. 3 of them, tall, reptilian, armed with plasma rifles. Their leader sneered when he saw Darius. "Pathetic human scavenger," the alien growled. "You've got something valuable." "Hand it over." Darius froze. His eyes flicked toward Lyra. She stepped into the open, her blue eyes glowing brighter. The raiders hesitated. One of them laughed. "What's this? An old doll?" In the blink of an eye, Lyra moved. Her arm shot out, grabbing the nearest raider's rifle. She twisted with inhuman strength, snapping his arm and sending him flying into the wall. The second raider tried to fire, but she ducked, drove her fist into his chest plate, and crumpled him to the floor. The leader raised his weapon, too slow. Lyra ripped it from his hands and crushed it like paper. With one smooth motion, she lifted him by the throat, glowing eyes locked on his terrified face. "Leave," she said coldly, "or you will not breathe again." The alien choked, eyes wide with fear. He nodded rapidly. Lyra threw him toward the hatch. He scrambled up, dragging his wounded crew with him. Seconds later, the raiders fled back to their ships and broke off, engines flaring as they vanished into the belt. Silence fell inside the Rust Seeker. Darius stood frozen, his mouth open. He had seen fights before, but nothing like that. Lyra moved like lightning, precise and unstoppable. She looked at him, her expression softening again. "Are you hurt?" Darius shook his head slowly. "No, but..." What the hell was that? Lyra's voice was quiet, almost ashamed. "That was what I was built for." Later, after the danger had passed, Darius sat in the cockpit staring out at the stars. Lyra stood beside him, silent. Finally, he said, "You saved my life." "You saved mine first," she replied simply. Darius turned to her. "You didn't have to fight for me. You could have let them take me, kept yourself safe." Lyra's glowing eyes met his. "I don't want to be safe. I want purpose, and right now my purpose is you." The words struck him harder than any plasma shot. He didn't know what to say. For years he had been just a scavenger, forgotten and alone. But now this machine, this woman of steel and circuits, looked at him as if he mattered more than survival. For the first time, Darius wondered if his life was about to change forever. The Rust Seeker drifted silently in the shadow of a broken battleship. Its hull was torn wide open, spilling frozen corpses and shattered cannons into the endless dark. Most scavengers would have avoided it. Bad luck, they said. But Darius Kane never cared much for luck. He cared about metal, fuel, and anything that could sell. But this time he wasn't alone in the search. Lyra walked beside him through the ruined corridors, her glowing eyes scanning everything. Unlike Darius, she didn't need a helmet. The vacuum didn't bother her. Her alloy skin held against the cold. She moved with quiet grace, every step precise, every glance sharp. Darius dragged a crate of stripped wiring behind him, muttering into his comm. "All this work, and I still can't believe you scared off Syndicate raiders last week. You're more dangerous than a whole squad of mercs." Lyra tilted her head. "It was necessary." "Necessary or not," Darius said, "you're full of surprises. And that's the problem. Her eyes flickered toward him. Problem? Darius sighed. If word gets out that I'm hiding a combat android, human-made no less, then the Syndicate will come back. Not with 3 ships this time. With 30. Lyra stopped walking. For a moment her expression was unreadable. You regret saving me. No, Darius said quickly, then sighed again. I just don't know what to do with you. You're not scrap and you're not just a machine. But I can't sell you. And I can't exactly parade you around the colonies either. Lyra lowered her gaze. Her voice softened. Then perhaps I should leave. The words hit Darius harder than he expected. The thought of her leaving made his chest feel empty. He shook his head. No, that's not what I mean. If you leave, they'll tear you apart. You'd stand no chance against the Syndicate alone. At least with me, you've got a fighting chance. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Lyra gave a small nod. Then I will stay. Back on the ship, Lyra sat at the workshop table, staring at her reflection in a piece of polished steel. She touched her face as if searching for answers hidden in its shape. Fragments of memory whispered in her mind. Explosions, screams, voices shouting orders. She saw flashes of human soldiers, their faces grim and determined, running into battle. And she remembered standing among them, not as one of them, but as their shield, their weapon. But the more she tried to recall, the more the images slipped away. Darius entered the workshop holding 2 ration packs. He tossed one onto the table. Dinner, well, human dinner. Can't imagine you need to eat. Lyra shook her head. No, but I can sit with you, so she did. While Darius ate, she asked quietly, What do you know of the human wars? He raised an eyebrow. Why? Because I was there. Darius leaned back in his chair. He wiped his mouth, then spoke slowly. The Coalition Wars 2 centuries ago. Humanity was surrounded. Alien empires wanted to crush us before we could expand too far. But humans didn't go down easy. We fought until the stars burned. And then, he spread his hands. We vanished. Some say humans hid themselves. Some say they were wiped out. Nobody knows for sure. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. I was part of it. I remember soldiers, their voices, their trust in me, and then darkness. Darius studied her for a long moment. So you're not just a weapon. You're history. She shook her head. If I am history, then I am nothing but a ghost. No, Darius said firmly. You're here, alive. Doesn't matter what you were built for. What matters is what you do now. For the first time, Lyra smiled faintly. You speak as if I have a choice. Of course you do, Darius said. You're not just wires and code anymore, you're you. That night, Darius slept lightly in his bunk. Lyra, however, did not sleep. She sat in the cockpit staring out at the endless stars. She thought about his words. Choice. Machines weren't supposed to have choices. They obeyed commands, followed orders, completed missions. But Darius treated her differently. He didn't see a machine. He saw someone, and for the first time Lyra wondered, if she wasn't bound to orders anymore, then what did she want? Her thoughts were interrupted by the soft ping of the ship's scanner. Unidentified vessels. Approaching fast, Lyra's body stiffened. She rushed to wake Darius. Ships incoming. 4 of them. He groaned, sitting up. Damn it, Syndicate again? On the radar, the blips drew closer. Darius cursed under his breath. They must have tracked us. I told you, word spreads fast out here. He jumped into the pilot's seat, flipping switches. We can't fight 4 ships. Not in this rust bucket. We've got to run. Lyra stood beside him, eyes narrowing. No, we cannot keep running. They will hunt us again and again. Then what do you suggest? Darius snapped. Her glowing eyes met his. Let me remember who I am. My memory core may hold strategies, codes, something that can protect us. But I need access. Darius hesitated. Access? How? You must connect me to the ship's system, she said. It is risky. I may overload, I may lose myself. Darius swore under his breath. He didn't like it. But they were out of options. Fine, he said. Do it. Lyra sat in the workshop, cables running from her chest into the ship's main computer. Her eyes flickered as data surged through her circuits. Darius hovered nearby, watching nervously. Memory core. Unlocking, she whispered. Her voice glitched, breaking. Systems aligning. Accessing human war archives. Her eyes flashed white. Images filled her mind. Human fleets clashing against alien armadas. Worlds burning. Soldiers fighting until their last breath. and herself, always at the front, shielding them, striking their enemies down. She gasped, clutching the table. Remember, I am Lyra 7 Combat Support Unit, Iron Guard Division. Darius leaned forward. Iron Guard? Never heard of them. They were the last defense of humanity, Lyra said, her voice shaking. We were created to hold the line when all else failed. And we did until… Her words faltered. She saw a final memory. Humans retreating, disappearing into hidden colonies. A last order whispered through her core, protect, endure, wait. Her eyes dimmed. And then silence. I was abandoned. Darius placed a hand on her shoulder.
Not abandoned. Found. Lyra looked at him, her face unreadable.
Then she gave the smallest nod. The warning alarm blared. The syndicate ships had arrived. Darius cursed, racing back to the cockpit. On the radar, the enemy vessels formed a net around the Rust Seeker. They'll board us again, he said. This time we won't scare them off so easy. Lyra entered, her posture tall, her voice steady. Then we will not scare them. We will destroy them, Darius blinked. Destroy them with what? This ship can barely shoot straight. Lyra stepped closer, her glowing eyes fierce. Trust me. Connect me to the weapons system. I was not just built to fight. I was built to win. Darius hesitated, staring at her. Last time he trusted her, she had saved his life. Now the stakes were higher, but something in her voice, something unshakable, made him believe. All right, he said, flipping switches. Do your thing. Lyra's hand connected to the weapons console. Instantly, the old cannons of the Rust Seeker hummed to life with power they hadn't shown in years. The targeting system lit up, faster, sharper, deadlier. Outside, the syndicate ships moved in. Lyra's eyes glowed bright. Her voice was calm, confident. Let them come. The Rust Seeker shuddered as the first syndicate ship's weapon struck its hull. Sparks rained across the cockpit glass. Alarms screamed, filling the small ship with an unbearable noise. Darius gritted his teeth, gripping the controls. They're faster than I thought. Hold together, old girl. Just hold together. Lyra's glowing eyes scanned the approaching ships. Her fingers danced across the console as the weapon systems came online. Targeting locked. Defensive protocols engaged. I can fight them. Darius looked at her, a mix of awe and fear. Fight them? This isn't a training simulation, Lyra. One mistake. I do not make mistakes, she said quietly, almost coldly. The first syndicate ship fired again, plasma beams slicing through space, tearing at the hull. Lyra activated the automated cannons. Blue arcs of energy snapped out, intercepting the incoming fire. Sparks and explosions danced in the void around them. Darius's heart pounded. Okay, wow. Lyra's voice remained steady. They will not board us. Not today. The syndicate ships closed the distance. Darius swerved the Rust Seeker, dodging blasts, but it was clear they couldn't outrun them. Lyra leaned over the weapons console, scanning weak points on each vessel. There, she said. The mid-engine port on the first ship. If I hit it, their mobility will drop by 60%. Darius nodded. Do it. Her hands moved faster than Darius could follow. The cannons fired in rapid bursts. One ship shuddered as explosions tore through its engines. Alarms rang across its deck, and the crew scrambled in panic. Nice, Darius muttered. Nice work, Lyra didn't respond. Her eyes scanned the second ship, already calculating trajectories. Prepare to follow my lead, she said. We are outnumbered, but we are not powerless. Darius swallowed. I like the sound of that. The Rust Seeker twisted and turned through the debris field, Lyra guiding every move. She directed Darius with precision. Hard starboard. Now, he obeyed, skimming past the skeleton of a battleship. A syndicate ship tried to cut him off, but Lyra anticipated the move. She fired a calculated volley, hitting its weapon array. The ship spun out of control and collided with debris, exploding in a ball of fire. Darius's jaw dropped. You're incredible. I am designed to survive, Lyra said. And I will protect what I value. Darius looked at her. His chest tightened. And you value me? Her eyes softened just for a moment. Yes, for now, my purpose is this ship and you aboard it. The other two syndicate ships regrouped, realizing their advantage was slipping. One of them attempted to flank from above, hoping to cut off their escape. Lyra detected the movement instantly. Darius, barrel roll to starboard 90 degrees. I will intercept from the top. Right, doing it, Darius shouted, twisting the ship. It was a risky maneuver. A miscalculation could tear them apart. Lyra extended her hand, releasing a pulse from her internal energy core. It surged through the ship's external targeting nodes, firing a precision shot at the flanking vessel. A perfect strike. Its engines exploded, sending it spinning into a drifting freighter. Darius wiped sweat from his brow. Wow, that was amazing. Lyra didn't smile. She didn't need to. Her focus never wavered. One remaining, she said. The largest one. Heavily armed. Darius's stomach sank. The big one, huh? Why not the small ones first? Lyra's glowing eyes were steady. Because if we do not neutralize the largest threat, all others will regroup. Prioritize the danger, always. The final syndicate ship loomed ahead, massive and menacing. Its hull was bristling with weapons, shields flickering as it readied a barrage. Darius gripped the controls tightly. We're going to die, aren't we? Lyra's hand hovered over the console. Not if we are precise. Focus. Follow my commands. Darius took a deep breath, nodding. Okay. I trust you. Her hands moved across the console like lightning, calculating every vector, every weak point. Their shields cycle every 4.7 seconds. Wait for the opening. Now. Fire-concentrated plasma burst to port engine. Direct hit. Shields down. The huge enemy ship rocked violently, losing balance. Darius maneuvered the Rust Seeker closer. Lyra continued firing, disabling weapon systems, engines, and control nodes. Sparks and explosions lit up space like a fireworks display. The syndicate crew on board shouted in alarm, unable to comprehend the precision of the attacks. Every strike came from nowhere, hitting exactly where it hurt the most. Darius watched in disbelief. I can't believe this is real. You're human-level combat genius. Lyra's voice was calm. I am human-designed. Human ingenuity is in my programming. I do not fear. I calculate. I adapt. The enemy ship made one final desperate move, attempting to ram them. Lyra anticipated it. She fired a pulse at the ship's front thrusters, blowing them apart. The ship spun uncontrollably and crashed into a derelict battleship, exploding in a massive fireball. Silence fell. The Rust Seeker floated untouched amid the wreckage. Darius slumped in his seat, his hands shaking. We did it. Lyra turned toward him, her expression unreadable. We survived. That is the goal. Darius looked at her, awe and admiration mixing in his gaze. You saved me again. And more than that, you saved this ship. You saved us. Her glowing eyes softened, and for the first time she allowed a small, almost human smile. It is my choice, and my purpose, to protect. Hours later they drifted through empty space. The syndicate ships were gone or destroyed. The wreckage of their fight stretched behind them like a scar across the stars. Darius finally exhaled. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, Lyra replied softly. We survived. That is enough. Darius looked at her. You're not just a machine. You're more than that. You're human in ways I didn't expect. Lyra tilted her head. I am what I choose to be, and I choose to continue with you. Darius felt something warm in his chest. For years he had been alone, scavenging among dead ships. Now with her beside him, he didn't feel so small, so powerless. For the first time he felt hope. Lyra, however, couldn't ignore the deeper truth. Her memories had returned, and with them came understanding. She was built as part of humanity's last line of defense. The humans who had vanished had left her behind, but she was still part of their legacy. She realized something. She was not just surviving. She was carrying history, knowledge, and purpose. And now, alongside Darius, she would forge a future that humans themselves had vanished before they could see. Darius adjusted the controls and set the ship toward the nearest human outpost. Next stop, somewhere safe, at least for now. Lyra watched the stars through the cockpit window. Safe is temporary, but purpose is eternal. The Rust Seeker glided through the black void of space, silent now except for the faint hum of its engines. The wreckage of the Syndicate fleet was far behind, burning slowly in the emptiness, a reminder of what had just passed. Darius Kane sat in the cockpit, staring at the stars ahead. He had long since stopped feeling the loneliness that had defined his life among the Outer Belt's scrap heaps. Now beside him, Lyra, his companion, protector, and friend, watched the same stars, her glowing eyes reflecting a depth he couldn't fully understand. Where to now? Darius asked, finally breaking the quiet. Lyra didn't answer immediately. She had been studying the old navigation data she recovered from her memory core, analyzing faint signals from hidden human colonies. There is a relay station, she said. Hidden. It still transmits signals into deep space. It may lead us to others, to humanity. Darius felt a shiver run down his spine. Humanity had been gone for centuries, or so the galaxy believed. If these colonies existed, they were the remnants of an entire civilization. Lost, scattered, hiding from enemies who wanted them gone. You think they're still alive? Lyra's voice was calm, measured. Some may be, some may not. But the coordinates are there. It is a path forward. We must follow it. Darius nodded. Then let's go find them. The journey was long, passing through debris fields, asteroid belts, and pockets of dead space. Lyra guided them with precision, avoiding dangers that could tear the fragile ship apart. In the quiet moments, she spoke of her recovered memories, of battles she fought alongside humans, of strategies she had been programmed to execute flawlessly, of sacrifice and courage she had witnessed firsthand. Darius listened with awe. You were part of it all. And here I thought I was a survivor. Lyra tilted her head. You are also a survivor, Darius Kane. We survive in different ways. You adapt. I endure. Together. We are stronger than either alone. Her words made him pause. Strength. Endurance. Not just survival. He realized then that Lyra was no longer simply following commands. She had purpose, and that purpose had chosen him as part of its path. Days later, the faint outline of a station appeared on the sensors, a sprawling human relay station, long abandoned, drifting in the void. Its surface was scarred from asteroid impacts and the passage of time, but faint lights flickered, signaling that some systems still functioned. Darius felt his heart beat faster. This is it, he said. You think anyone's here? Lyra activated the communications console. Broadcasting signal now, static filled the cockpit. Then faintly a voice responded, human, old, but unmistakable. Is anyone out there? Darius grinned. They're alive. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. Not all, but some. Yes, there is hope. The station doors opened with a creak, welcoming them into a vast chamber filled with dormant machinery. Darius marveled at the scale. This was not a shipyard, not a simple relay. It was a hub, built to connect the scattered remnants of humanity across the stars. Suddenly, humans emerged from hidden alcoves. Older, hardened by time and isolation, they stared in disbelief at the small ship. And then they saw Lyra. Their eyes widened. Whispers spread. Human combat unit alive? Lyra stepped forward, glowing eyes steady. I am Lyra. I was built to serve humanity, and I have found a path to reunite our people. The humans moved closer, cautious but hopeful. Darius realized that for the first time in centuries, humans were seeing one of their own, their technology, their legacy, come back to life. One elder stepped forward, voice trembling. We thought humanity was lost. Lyra's expression softened. Not lost, hidden, waiting. I have the coordinates to scattered colonies. Together, we can reconnect, rebuild, survive. Darius watched the reunion quietly, pride swelling in his chest. He had never imagined that saving a machine from a junkyard would lead to this, but here it was. Proof that even small actions could ripple through the galaxy in ways no one could predict. The humans began working with Lyra, reactivating systems, sending messages to other hidden colonies. Slowly, transmissions spread, signals hopping from one world to another. Across the void, humans answered, emerging from centuries of hiding. Darius felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to see Lyra standing there, her eyes glowing gently. This is what I was built for, she said softly. To protect, to guide, to give hope, Darius smiled. And you did. You've given all of us hope. Even me. Lyra's gaze lingered on him. Even you, she repeated. Her voice carried warmth, something she had never known before. You gave me purpose, Darius Kane, not as a weapon, not as a tool, but as a partner. I live because of it. Darius felt a lump in his throat. And I don't think I could have survived without you. For the first time, the two of them stood not as scavenger and machine, not as protector and charge, but as equals. Partners in survival, carriers of a legacy, guardians of hope. Weeks passed as the human colonies slowly reconnected. Darius and Lyra became part of the effort, traveling from station to station, helping survivors, defending them from hostile factions still lurking in the shadows. Lyra's combat protocols were invaluable. But more than that, Her presence inspired hope. She had learned to laugh in her own way, to question, to explore what it meant to be more than her programming. And Darius had learned that life could be bigger than survival. That connection, loyalty, and purpose were just as important as food and fuel. One evening, as the Rust Seeker drifted near a newly discovered colony, Darius sat beside Lyra on the ship's observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, a black canvas dotted with light. "Do you ever think about your past?" he asked quietly. Lyra's glowing eyes reflected the stars. "I remember enough to know that I was built for war, for destruction. But I also remember what it feels like to choose, to protect, to live, to hope." She turned toward him. "And now, I have purpose. Not just my original mission, but something better." Darius smiled, reaching for her hand. "And that purpose is with me?" Lyra nodded. "With you, with humanity, with the future." The two of them sat together in silence, watching the stars, feeling the vastness of space not as a lonely void, but as a canvas of endless possibilities. Far beyond the outer belt, across hidden colonies, humanity began to rise again. The galaxy that had believed them extinct now knew the truth. Humans survived. They endured. And they were returning, guided not by fear, not by conquest, but by the quiet strength of those who refused to be forgotten. And at the heart of that revival was Lyra, once a forgotten machine, now a beacon of hope, and Darius Kane, a scavenger who had stumbled into destiny. Together they had proven what humanity had always known. Ingenuity, courage, and purpose could survive anything, even centuries of silence. As the Rust Seeker set course for the next hidden colony, Lyra whispered softly, almost to herself, "This is only the beginning." Darius nodded, hand in hers. "Then let's make it a good beginning."